once. I mean, it hasn't.
At least once.
At least once. I mean, it hasn't happened before. So that has to be worth something. Okay, let me get Devin's thing going. Let me see. Oh, yeah. That's not what I wanted to do. Show it's key. Hang on. I wanted to pop out to full screen. Just a second. There's Devin. Pop out to full screen. Boom, ba boom. Okay, let's try this again. All right. It's a little cringely for the soul. Everybody should have had a chance to at least get a view of Mr. Cringely. Prior, we're going to do the real deal here today. We're going to talk about it. So I guess 5:30. Are we ready to rock and roll? Should we do this thing? What say, kids?
Roger, Roger.
Excellent. So here's the deal. We are making an attempt at a couple things. I'm going to try one thing, and hopefully it doesn't blow the video over there. It does not. All right. Thank you for the minimum competence gift. Oh, yeah. So, Franklin, the meme, man, I just want to say about the meme. That meme was directed at myself. I am a big fan of Little Debbie, my private pastry chef. Little Debbie's zebra cakes are kind of to die for, but here's the key. They have to be frozen. You have to put them in the freezer and eat them in the frozen state. Anybody confirm or deny on the zebra cakes? That's the thing. So I always keep in the freezer. And after I had some, you guys know about the surgery that I had in the summer, right? And it was like, anyway, it blew everything, my exercise, my everything. So I just started going full Debbie, man. I was just full Debbie. And I became Big Deborah. This is a tribute to Dr. K, who basically went full Big Deborah. And then about a week ago, I decided I'd had enough self-loathing, and when the Debbies ran out, I just didn't refill. I went to the store and I did not reload. Anyway, this is just so everybody understands. This is about me. But yeah, frozen. Frozen is the way to go. Okay, let me hit a couple of things. Let me see. Ba-ba-dum. Yeah, what I'm going to do, we're going to talk about Cringely today. Did everybody get a chance, or at least most of you, get a chance to watch a little Cringely? Posted some links. We're going to hit, I'm just going to do some clips, and talk about it rather than watching the whole thing. It's dated, right? Cringely, man, mid-90s. This was on PBS the first time. Yeah, really low res. This was on PBS in the mid-90s, and I was in my PhD program at Oregon State when it came on. I saw it probably in the TV guide. I don't know how I knew, but I watched it like when it very first aired live and on television. And I've always been a bit of a student of the history of the field of computer science, computing. So, and I thought it was a fun presentation, a little bit funny, a little bit goofy. Cringely's trying to be funny without being crazy and over the top. But, so we're going to hit that. I wanted to hit, okay, I have about half of current event 1. I'd like to revoke that competence thing. Let's revoke the competence thing. I'm about halfway through grading Current Event 1, and I'm trying to bring Tim and Devin along with me on the kind of the rubric and how we're doing it. What I am going to do, though, just as kind of a couple heads up on grading and on the posts. Okay, I have a couple things I want to say. One, everything that you're doing right now that you don't get all the points on, you can rework it and resubmit it for a regrade. Okay? Everybody good with that? Do we have a hot mic from somebody? Check your hot mics in case you got some side noise going on. Anyway, so everybody cool with that? Until there's going to come some point, I will let you know at some point in the future, okay, everybody, from now on, it is what it is. But until I say that, while I'm lagging, it's just horribly unfair to be like 5 assignments in, then you get feedback on the first one. Oh, if I had known that, I would have done the other ones differently. That's just professorial bullcrap, in my view. In my view, there's no reasonable way to make that play on my side. I didn't want to. It's not like I would if I could, but I know I wouldn't. Okay. So until I say different, we're gonna drop in. Same for me, same for Devin, same for Tim. I'm obviously a much more experienced writer than those guys, but they're good writers. And we're going to be consulting and stuff, but we're going to try to roll through. If you got a 5, you're good. If you got less and you really don't understand why, or you know what I mean, it's just like, you've got an issue, DM me, you know what I mean, and we'll walk through it. One other thing I had as kind of a conclusion that I was going to do, we have sometime during the semester, we want to schedule a writing workshop, right? That's a one-on-one workshop with you and me, where we jump on a video chat or a voice chat, do like a share screen on your post, and then talk through it together for like 10 or 15 minutes, right? It's really efficient to be able to do that, because there's so much, when you're trying to type comments, it's so slow and cumbersome, right? But if we can talk about it, you get a lot more of that kind of, effect. But I will say this, if you have a grade so far, and this is true for the second half of Current Event 1, if I gave you a 5, it doesn't mean it's a flawless thing. It just means, no, it was good. It was good thoughtfulness, good, analysis. Look at the rubric again. But in every case that I gave somebody a 5, I thought to myself, now this person could be a really, really good writer. In a couple cases, I actually thought this person is already a really good writer. But in all of the other cases where I gave a 5, I felt like this person could be a really good writer. The truth is, that can be true no matter what that score is, okay? If you care about it, if you actually care. And I will do everything I can, starting with getting caught up on the grading, to help you improve as a writer, okay? And then one last thing I just want to say by way of, I want to give you a couple items of feedback from my grading the first half, which I am doing personally. I always had issue with the idea that you're in like this freshman English class. I just remember this happening to me. Most of my sort of professorial pedagogical philosophies are born out of some horrible experience I had as an undergrad. That's the truth. I lock them away and just kind of store them, and later on I'm just like, I don't have to be like that. There's no need to be like that when it's my turn to be the professor. So, but I remember in an undergrad writing class, some kind of writing class. I don't remember whether it was at Iowa or BYU, but I was at this writing class. We do this like first writing assignment. It's due like the end of the second week or something. So I do my best, whatever. And then, and then it comes through and you get like whatever the points are. And you're like, okay. But they're criticizing me for all the things they're supposed to be gonna teach me. I mean, and then it's like, and then I get better and better and better. And by the end of the semester, I'm doing A work, but I've still got that crap grade at the beginning. It's a little bit like, Hey, come learn French. Great. Okay, we're going to give you a French quiz. We don't speak French yet. It's okay. We're going to give you a French quiz. Oh, too bad. You did really bad on that. That's going to really hurt your grade. And now we're going to teach you French. You know what I mean? To me, does that make sense? That seemed really inconsistent to me. In contrast, when I was at Iowa and I had freshman English, which they called rhetoric, I had a teacher who was a grad student. He was fantastic. Very strange guy, but really a great teacher, and kind of changed my life in a lot of ways when it comes to writing. But I remember he would give us our little writing things. He's like, go to the old Capitol Mall, and just sit at the old Capitol building and write for like 15 minutes. What do we have to write about? I don't care. What are you grading it on? I'm not going to grade it. We're like, what are you talking about? It's heresy. And basically he would just give you like a check mark, meaning, yep, you did it, you're doing good. A check minus, which meant not doing so great. A check plus, which means you're doing really great. And I remember one day, because I was obsessed with my grades, I'm just like, hey, what do you have to do to get an A? And he said to me, if at the end of the semester you are writing at an A level, then you get an A. And I thought, thank you, right? I mean, really. So what I'm doing is sort of similar to that in the sense that you can always go back having had an epiphany about how to write something better. And even if I've graded it twice, I really don't care. I just want you to try to get better, and I hope that you'll want to try to get better as a writer. And you go back and make changes, make edits, refine it, tighten it, make it better, and just say, hey, Dr. K, would you check this out and tell me if that doesn't bump from a 4 to a 5? And if you do that, I will give you the 5. Okay? I just want you to show that effort. And in the meantime, this is like a placeholder for what you've done. You still have to do it. You can't just like wait until December and try to drop 20 blog posts on me. Okay? Is that... I can't even think of anything hardly more fair than that. I also want you to know that like I said, when I turn the helm over to Devin and Tim for the grading of the backlog, to kind of start back in with Smallish Blog 1, we're doing this kind of all together, so they're coming along with kind of where my expectations are. But what I really hope you'll do is just not get pissy with them. They're going to do the best they can. We all are just trying to be fair and help you get better. And if there's anything there that you disagree with, just kick it over. Just understand that we're all really in the same, package team. We're just trying to help you get better. So if it's like, oh, frickin' TAs, that should never happen here, because ultimately we can just get it right. That's the beauty. All right? That ought to be beautiful. Okay, let me hit a couple of highlights. I'm also going to make an announcement and put these in the announcements. But let me just give you things I noticed in the first half. Everybody's post can be tighter. Way to go, Devin. Everybody's post can be tighter. Even the ones that got 5s, it could be tighter, better. When we do the writing workshop with you, we'll definitely talk about that. Everybody needs to improve from kind of where they are, right? What their next step is. Oh, I mentioned writing workshops. Rather than scheduling like a block of workshops at a certain time, if at any point you grab me to just do a one-on-one walk through some of your writing, I will at that time just mark you as credited for the writing workshop, the one-on-one personal workshop. Right? I mean, I think that's great. It'll make it a little more organic. If you come, if I get 5 this week and 10 next week, and I'm just getting hit up by students, we're talking, whatever, rather than trying to schedule like 60, on certain block schedule and whatever. If we can get the majority of them done kind of ad hoc, that would be great. So as soon as you're ready to be like, yeah, I want to talk more, and then hit me up, plan on about 10 minutes, okay, for something like that. Okay. Everybody needs to have it tighter. So there's a number of things. This is in no particular order. 2 posts hiding in one, where there's like it kind of starts to say one thing and then it finishes by saying a different thing, and they're only vaguely connected. That's two posts trying to hide out as one. There's a similar one with a bunch of things all as one post, but that's actually more like 10 things all trying to get out. What's the opposite? I feel like I've drawn a weird blank. Of the two posts, one post hiding in two. That never happens. Okay, one paragraph, please, I beg you. One paragraph. Instant ding. Two paragraphs, instant ding. One massive paragraph, you're just messing. That's two paragraphs bunched together. Don't presume that the reader has read the article that you cited. Okay? Let me see, Eric. I've had posts that say the way things are, then refute it. You mean that you've written, though? What do you mean by had? Let's get more specific with your language. What do you mean by the word had, Eric? And while you're typing that, so don't presume the reader has read it. Be inspired by it. Provide the link for it. But whatever you want to say it. But also, we've talked about this. It's not a book report about the article. I really like what the author said. Okay? Don't be autobiographical. In this post, I'm going to talk about, don't give us your experience unless the punchline of the post is your experience. If the punchline is, whatever, pick something, blah, blah, privacy. When I read this article, don't give us the autobiographical report about how you read the article. Just form your thing, make your position statement, and then make your position. So Eric, is that one that you wrote and then it was graded already? Is this one that I already graded, or is this one that's floating out there for us to come to? Because if you say, am I coming through choppy? Crap. Is it because we're sharing that screen? Great. Is it because Devin's sharing his screen?
Sounds better now.
What happened?
Yeah, it seemed to have stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way better now.
Okay, I didn't do anything. I swear, I didn't do anything. Okay, let me see. So yeah, avoid the book report and the autobiographical. Don't tell us about telling, just say it. What have you got to say? What's your position? Here's the thing, you got to set it up, you got to build to it, and you got to punchline it, okay? Don't, let me see, what else? Oh yeah, build to some punchline, build to a conclusion. Don't summarize the article at all. No extra paragraph about the article. Okay? Responding to Nesby's comment. Pixelated audio didn't take off because audio doesn't have pixels. Okay, yeah, so Eric said, my post wasn't graded or anything. I was only curious if that model fit within the two ideas model that you were telling us to avoid. Now, if your point is, here's what a lot of people think, or here's what, a common misconception, or here's whatever, let me rebut that. That's still one idea, okay? What's not one idea is blah, 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 technology is good, it helps a lot of people, blah, 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 my dog just died, capitalism is bad. That's like several, they might all be worthy posts, especially the dog one. But I'm just saying, that's three posts trying to happen, okay? Build it together and conclude. The other one is, wherever possible, it is don't end your post with a question. About 20% of you ended your post with a question. Now, and I think one of those, I thought, that's actually not too bad. But the problem is that a lot of times when you, you said, Nesby, I need guidance how to not assume they read the article but don't summarize it. So, yeah, what it means is there's a war brewing. That war is over privacy. And then the word privacy has like a link. And then the link is to your article. Then the reader just kind of goes, oh, there's a link to an article for more information. Or even in parens. Or, for more information, see this. But where you're just like, you summarize to make your own point, and then you cite back to what the thing is. You have just a link to it, just a hyperlink. Does that kind of make sense? So you don't summarize it, you don't assume they read it. Whatever you need them to know, like whatever, Amazon just made blah 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 dollars. Cite to the article that says Amazon made blah 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 dollars. You don't have to say, blogger Joe Blow doesn't like this. I agree with blogger Joe Blow. Now, I don't want to hear about what you think about another person. I want to think about, don't summarize it at all. I mean, you're not summarizing it. You're pulling from it anything that needs to be said. You know what I mean? So there were some examples. It's just like, man, the situation today, you're only doing your own opinion. You're only doing your own opinion, your own perspective. So if you're like, and I've seen this, and I think this is great. Blah, 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 COVID, blah, 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 technology, blah, 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 blah. And you just have a post. It stands alone. It says what it wants to say. And then just below it, with no comment at all, is just an article with a link. Fine. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You need more blahs, okay? So, John, you don't summarize it. You don't even have to use the information in it. The current event that you're citing to is merely your inspiration that I might be interested also in reading. Okay? But what you can't do is say, there was a couple of them that were like, oh man, I can't remember now, but it's like, it was very clear that that you assumed that all these points of reference were in the head of the reader, and don't do that. Do it all. Do your own thing so it stands alone. Cite your mom every time, Eric. Okay, is she a blogger? You might be in business. Is she a blogger about technology and society? You may be home free, Eric. Okay, you might be in trouble then. All right. Get her video blogging. Okay, ending your post with a question. It's usually a cop-out. Because look, if I just say, don't you think we can do better? Okay, don't drag me along on your bandwagon. Don't make me sign up to be along with you on this. Just say, we can do better. We must do better. Say it. If you think we can do better, say it. Don't say, don't you think isn't it obvious? Well, maybe not. Don't ask these questions as a kind of a cop-out way of ending. Figure out what you're trying to say and say what you're trying to say. And then just have the guts to just conclude it. Boom. And again, if you've already been hammered on Current Event 1, go back, take a look at it, rework it. Let me know if you've done that. DM me and let me know. Yeah, so you're right, Franklin. This is the age of softening the blow. So when I hear people, well, don't say things that are hurtful to other people. Now, I understand that we're in a climate where that's increasingly difficult to just say things that certain people won't take offense with. And, you're on your own discretion about how to deal with that. But I would say, have something to say and say it. And then I would say to everybody else in the class, everybody needs to do their very best to not be disrespectful or hurtful to others. And other people need to, I don't know what certain people means, Dahlia. I need more clarification. But so it's kind of two-directional. We're going to all agree that we're not going to read somebody's post and go, well, That a-hole, whatever, I'm going after him. Let's cancel him. I'd rather not do that. I'd like everybody to be respectful of, in terms of what they post, and then equally respectful when we're consuming what those posts are, even if you don't agree with what the points are. Okay? All right. Yeah, I didn't know if I had said something daily about certain people. I can't remember what I said. Okay, and I can see the trollery has already begun. So I'm just going to move on, leave the trollery in the chat channel. And what else? Let me see. Oh yeah, the other one is delete your way to glory. There was one post. It was fairly long, and literally a third of it was like warming up, ramping up. Here's what I'm going to do, thinking about this. Here's the thing, blah, blah, blah. And after all that stuff, and then about a third of the way in, it actually started. It was not bad. But really just delete the first third. It's okay to start writing to get your flow going, but look back and see if you can't delete like the first sentence. So John, depends on a good example of what you mean. What I mean about what? Like how to do it right, how to do it wrong. So let me know what you think about that. Like when I'm looking for good. Yeah, I'm not gonna throw it up on the thing. Yeah, but I will just talk about it just because of everybody has access to everybody else's via the blog roll, but the blog roll is accessible only on Canvas. And so let me just look real quick. I'll try to find one and kind of read it to you. That one, I'm trying to find one that's just the right length. That's suitable. By the way, we're going to try the audio. We think we have the audio thing kludged out here, where Devin screen shares the Cringely videos so that his audio can pump in, because he's on Windows. And since I'm on Mac and it no worky, the audio on that doesn't work. Come on. Okay, let me try this one. Okay, this one's not too bad. Not bad. Okay, so this one, actually, the interesting thing. No, I don't want to pick on anybody or single anybody out. This one, I don't know. Do I show it? Do I just bring this over and show it? I mean, everyone can see it, other than the fact that we're posting it to YouTube is the thing. Okay, let me just look at this one here. This is one I gave a 5, and maybe I'll regret it after I read it out loud. The title was Rebuild with Creativity. That was the title, which is nice. That's a nice, thought-provoking title. Immediately under that was a link, just like an embedded link, to an article in entrepreneur.com, why creativity is the key for the post-crisis rebuild. So I can immediately go, oh, I can click on that if I feel like it. And I already know instinctively that that's related somehow. So here we go. And I apologize if the author of this, directly plagiarized this, from Entrepreneur, and now it's going to be embarrassing. But so here's what it says. First of all, 3, 4, let me see, 5. It's 10 lines in the blog post. Okay? So it's not crazy long. Here we go. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to go fingers for sentences. Sentence 1. While this last year has thrown the world into a chaotic mess, it also has given us a chance to look at the world in a new light. That's a nice little intro. 2. We've had to change everything in our lives, like how we work and learn. Nice. 3. We found ourselves taking advantage of tools that we've had for years and not utilized fully. Do you see how already I kind of your job is to take me on a little bit of a walk, a little journey. Walk me through the park, right? I got a mess We got a chance to look at things new. We got to change how we work and learn. We got tools that we haven't utilized. Number 4, I think that this could be like a wildfire in a forest, a disaster while it's happening, but giving the possibility for new life with more fertile ground. Okay, boom, metaphor. You got a lot of meat there. You start talking about wildfires in forests making the soil more fertile, and you just brought in a lot of meat, okay? And again, all of this could be tighter, right? You don't even have to say I think. You get I think for free, right? This could be like a wildfire. You don't have to say I think. I already know it's what you think because you wrote it and you posted it. So that was what? That was sentence number 5. Number 6, the way we've done things in the world hasn't significantly changed in quite some time. And I think that this past year has shown everyone that there are different ways of doing things that can be better. Finally, last sentence. We can change the schooling system to better reflect the time that we're living in and make the future better. Now, that is not like, that's not Edgar Allan Poe, you know. It's not, I think that it could be way better. No, there's no question in my mind that whole thing could be better, tighter, build to something a little more punchy. But do you see how much coolness is in there? Right? So the meat is talking about wildfires generating more fertile soil. That's it's not just one word, but it's a meat idea versus the mayonnaise filler. Michelle, your GIF is killing me. It's just, that guy is killing me. I should have just sent you the link. I didn't see that, Eric. I was over there on the other one. You're right. I should have done that. That's true, because everybody has a chance to see everybody else. But that was a 5. And I thought it was very nice and it was very solid. And stop. Okay. Everybody cool? So that's just an example of a good one. There were no grammatical mistakes. There were no punctuation mistakes. I've graded half of them, and I'm going to finish the other half in the mythical future when all things are possible, but no later than the next little bit. Thank you. I don't even know this guy, but I don't like him. Okay, are we good? Does that help? And we can do this every time. We can keep making it a little better. Every day is a little writing workshop. It's all good. Yep. But also, did you see how that little post kind of brought you along a journey and took you kind of someplace? I think it was a weak conclusion. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, make the future better. You know what I mean? That's not as strong as you could be by way of conclusion. But it's not bad, you know? The journey was nice. Okay. All right. Let's do Cringely. Cringely. So you had a chance to watch it. I'm trying to figure out, by the way, the best way to do Cringely. One approach is to have you do it like we did it, where I have you try to watch it before class. Then we can just kind of hit some highlights. Or the other alternative is we actually watch it in class streaming and then pause it as we need. Maybe let's ask that at the end, because we'll do it this way and we'll see. Okay, so Bob Cringely. So Cringely. Oh! I wanted to also say another thing. Books, more books. This book right here, The Innovators. Walter Isaacson. Now, I have not read this book yet. I am desperate to read it, but I have read this book by Walter Isaacson. Hang on, how am I doing? Better than Colonel Sanders, huh? Yeah, this Steve Jobs bio by Walter Isaacson. Amazing, because Steve Jobs was amazing. But I trust this book by Isaacson because I know what a great author Isaacson is. And we're going to talk about some of the people today in the history. You know, we did that last time. The last lecture was, let's go from, carving counts in bones, and let's bring it forward, to kind of vacuum tubes and the dawn of the transistor, Yes, Dread Penguin. Yes, he was. He was also friggin' brilliant, but no question. I hope that's not all you learned. I hope that you learned more than that, but that is absolutely something that one should learn, I think, by reading that bio by Isaacson. Okay. Let's do this. Let's roll for a while, and then I want to come back, and I've got a few other book recommendations for you, and I want to remind you that all of the Cringely videos come from a book called Accidental Empires. Okay. All right. So here's what we got. So I got Devin's on the console there, trying to keep his screen refreshed. Should we try this thing? And then we're gonna have to test volume on the feedback here, and hopefully this works. If not, I got to go get me a Windows laptop like fast. Should we try it? So Devin, we're gonna do the first one. I've got sort of like 8 video files. It's the first one. We can also chat this one, but from 13 seconds to 1:29.
Do you want me to just go for it now?
Yeah. Do you have it queued up to 13?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Bob Cringely, and I'm here to tell you the incredible story of how personal computers took over the world. Why am I telling you this at a basketball game? Well, I like the game.
Oops, what happened? Did we lose you? Lost you, man.
Sorry. I can't see the time once it starts playing.
I can stop you.
Okay.
I'll try to stop you.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Okay. In fact, what I'll do... Yeah, I'll get my little timer going here.
Okay.
Okay.
Now it's let me.
So Franklin, you got audio now, or was it when the audio cut on the video? Okay.
Your screen, show picture. Okay.
Bob Cringely, and I'm here to tell you the
Oh, wait, hang on. Are you guys getting audio now?
over the world.
Are you getting audio now or not? Ah, crapski. Wait, is it just because it's quiet? Devin, can you crank your volume up on that at all?
Let's see. Yeah,
and then I'll try to do mine and get my incoming output cranked up to high heaven.
All right, let's see if it'll.
And if this doesn't,
Telling you this at a basketball
we'll go.
game? Well, I like the game, but mainly it's because of.
How are we right now for audio? Okay, can somebody let's
His
see.
name is Paul
Colton says it's
Allen,
good.
and everything you see here belongs to him. The
How about on
Portland
YouTube
Trailblazers
as well, if
basketball
anybody-
team,
I
their
suspect-
arena, even the dancers. Thanks to personal computers, he has
Ah.
$8 billion to spend on such toys.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and pause, Devin.
20 years ago, Allen and his high
So-
school friend Bill Gates.
Wow, so my stream doesn't incorporate it and put it back in there for you guys. But it works if you all watch Devin's stream.
Yeah, could you hear it if you see it on my stream?
And the YouTube sounds great, of course. The other option is everybody jumps to YouTube. That's 20-second delay. Yeah, okay, well, so let's just do that. You can still hear me talk. It's still showing, it's still streaming. It should still stream to YouTube because I'm watching Devin. So let's just, everybody jump over to watch Devin's stream for this thing. It's a little clunk. I just need a Windows machine. That's what I need. Okay, let's everybody jump over to watch Devin's then instead of mine. So yeah, Eric, Windows Discord on the Discord app on Mac doesn't let me stream the system sound into the channel. It's bottom line. Windows, and then Windows does. And it's different because different software.
I think a Windows VM would take a lot more power to be able to do it all, which is probably why that's not as good idea.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, maybe I got to do dual boot. Maybe I just need to dual boot my Mac.
Oh yeah,
I
you could probably do that.
Yeah, I have run Windows VMs, and mostly it's super choppy when I've done any of that kind of stuff, like a Windows VM in a Mac. To Erica and Colton, yeah, it's that's my experience with doing anything in a Windows VM, running in a Mac. I don't know if that just changed since I tried it last, but
VMs are pretty tough to run anything.
But dual boot could solve my problem, so I can just bring it up.
Depending on how nice your. Oh yeah, you could use like a Docker or something.
So yeah, we'll work on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's everybody. So watch Devin for the stream feed instead of mine, because I'm just going to pause it and then do some commentary.
Do you want me to just stay exactly where I'm
Yeah,
at?
just keep where you're going. I don't know how far this goes exactly, but
Okay. I'll start it now.
Gates were running a two-man software company called Microsoft. Today, Allen is richer than God, and Gates is richer than Allen.
that's a nice line.
20 years ago, young men like Paul Allen and Bill Gates invented the personal computer, and in doing so launched a revolution that's changed the way we live, work, and communicate. It's hard to believe that 20 years ago there were no personal computers. Now it's the third largest industry in the world, somewhere between energy production and illegal drugs. But the most amazing thing of all is that it happened by accident, because a bunch of disenfranchised nerds wanted to impress their friends.
Okay, go ahead and pause, Devin. So, okay, number one, is the audio video on when you're watching Devin's stream, is that working okay? What are you getting? Okay. All right. Okay. Awesome. So as long as you're just willing to kind of like, when we're talking about it, you can jump back and forth if you want, depending on when you see my smiling face, or just leave it streaming with Devin. What I wanted to just kind of, okay, then Devin, jump over to 204, to the 204 mark.
I already jumped there.
Okay, you're
I'm already
good.
there.
Yeah, then just roll that. It's 55 more seconds.
Okay.
Story of how a handful of guys launched an industrial revolution, how they changed the culture of business, how they made history.
I feel incredibly lucky to be at exactly the right place in Silicon Valley, at exactly the right time historically, where this invention has taken form.
It wasn't like we both thought it was going to go a long ways. It was like, we'll both do it for fun, and even though we're going to lose some money probably, we'll just have been able to say we had a company.
I love that line, by the way.
All of us would get together and just hope we were right, that the PC would become a big thing.
I stop and say, wow, the PC really has become part of the very fabric of the way people live. And we've certainly searched with it, and I just stop and say, pretty incredible ride.
Okay, go ahead and stop, Devin. Yeah, so a couple things. And by the way, I know some of you have seen this, you watched it before class. So there's a lot, a little more context. I'm trying to cut the fluff out and hit to, not fluff, but you know what I mean? Just trying to be a little more direct and focused. I like that. To me, the interviews there, it was Steve Jobs, Woz, Bill Gates, and Steve Ballmer, right? And now you can't see Ashton Kutcher, man. That was not a good bit of casting. Okay. Yeah, so, but what I wanted to say, do you remember Jan Newman last week? And one of the things Jan said, and I respect Jan as somebody who understands the orders of ignorance. He can manage, a world. Actually, hey, Devin, I got an echo coming through yours. Maybe if you mute just while,
Sorry.
when I'm in comment, when you're not playing, if you mute, yeah, it'll save that. I don't know if I'm the only one hearing that, but no, but Jan mentioned something that I think every really truly successful entrepreneur understands is luck, right? I mean, the fact, and so you're like, okay, but it was Paul Allen and Bill Gates, yeah, but they were both just real coder nerds, you had to have Ballmer, who was a business guy, right? And in the case of Steve Jobs and Wozniak, Woz was the engineering genius, and Steve was adequately technical, but not deeply technical. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Tell me more about that, Aiden. But what Jan said was that there's luck. You got to have the right kind of luck, but you had to have the right people at the same time. I think about this a lot of like looking at the history of amazing bands, like musical bands, right? Bands that like, I don't know. You got John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and they just all happened to be in Liverpool, and it took some work to get those four guys together, right? And, similarly, whatever, just pick any amazing classic band, and there's some serendipity involved in these guys converged. What you'll see throughout all of Cringely, through all three of the episodes, you'll see, Ringo was the best. Pete Best was not the best. But I think about bands, like, what are the odds? What is the likelihood, right? You're Rush, okay? You're in Toronto. You have your first album out. You have a big hit in the U.S., not a big hit, any kind of a hit with Working Man, which is like really, really big hit in the Rust Belt in the U.S., and you're going to go tour in the U.S., and your drummer has health problems and can't go, and you happen to know there's a guy who's a drummer who's at the auto parts store. This is all true. And the guy's name is Neil Peart, and he happens to be a drummer on the side. Peart basically becomes arguably the best drummer in the history of rock and roll, certainly one of the top two or three. Nobody argues that. Usually it's him or John Bonham. But I'm just saying that you're Alex Lifeson and you're Geddy Lee, and you already have these amazing future chops, and you just happen to know Neil Peart working at the auto parts store. What are you talking about, right? But why is that? But you take away that convergence, and it's not really quite Rush. Same thing with the Beatles, same thing with the Rolling Stones, same thing with Led Zeppelin. Same thing with, just pick any, I'm going way deep for classic bands, right? But maybe, I don't know who your favorite, it is kind of indeterministic, or non-deterministic. But I don't know who your favorite bands are, but when you look at the bands where they have that longevity or that amazing impact, there's almost always some weird serendipity at play where they just happen to converge. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I think this is really, really important to say. There's an old expression that the victors write the history books, right? You know this, right? You've heard this, which is why it's really hard going back to ancient history to find like monuments that talk about the conquered people, right? So Eric, this is the killer question. If it hadn't been them, would it have been someone else, or would it have not happened at all? You know what I mean? Would there have been another Led Zeppelin, or would there have been no Led Zeppelin? This is the big question, I think. Would there have been no Amazon? Would there have been no Microsoft? No, Facebook, whatever. I tend to believe that and this is again a theme that comes back to everything we're talking about, that history is not inevitable before the fact. It's always inevitable after the fact, because it just feels like, well, that's the way it had to go down, right? And so there's an entire genre of literature and cinema, film, with the alternate history, right? Like the Man in the High, what's it called? Man in the High Castle, which I read the book by who wrote that book? Philip K. Dick. But I watched part of the first episode of the Amazon series. But the alternate history is the Axis powers win World War II, and the United States gets divvied up between basically the Germans and the Japanese. That's the premise. Okay, well, so that's interesting. You explore that because that's interesting. But the reality is that the hard part about looking backwards, and this is why luck is so important. When you just try to look backwards at some story of something that happened, it's very difficult to look at it and just go, oh, there's the recipe. Oh, that's how you do that. You know? Because you're looking back now going, yeah, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Apple, duh. But when you were back then, how do you predict that? How you can't tell. There were a lot of people. Notice that when you watch the video, the West Coast Computer Fair, right? Jobs happened to get the plum spot right at the front door. He says they stole the show. But there were a lot of computer companies that were there, right? Yeah, you know, it's just, in other words, it's very difficult when you're like right now, okay, right now, look around and tell me who's going to win. You cannot predict it. You cannot. There's no way to retroactively look back. You can retroactively look back because you already know who won. But if you had been there, you wouldn't have known. You know, everybody would have had a guess, all right? And I want to just say this one thing for Eric. So, yeah, the guy at the auto parts store, his name is Neil Peart. And you respect that name, son. Neil Peart, somebody else would have been the greatest drummer of all time. And it would have just simply been John Bonham of Led Zeppelin. But nobody else would have been Neil Peart. You know what I mean? If there hadn't been an Edgar Allan Poe, would there have been a Poe? Another guy doing Poe? I would say no. You know? Just pick anybody that has that, you know, critical role to play that. You know, I don't care if it's like your favorite actor, Dante, right? Would there have been another Dante? I'd say no. But there would have been something else, and it might have been as brilliant but different. But this is also really, really key, and I hope you can get this out of what we're talking about in all of this. See yourselves in these stories. Now, maybe you're not going to be Steve Jobs. Odds are against it. You know, being Steve Jobs, but being something within your own unique whatever, every single one of us, every one of you and me, even Devin and Tim, everybody has this unique package that there is literally nobody precisely like that package. That's your value add. Figure out what that is in your career, in your life. You know, what's that thing you do that nobody else can do? And that's really, you know, that's absolutely, you know, key. Yeah. Anyway, back to Eric. Yeah, so I'm just going to do this. Hang on a second. There we go. Bottom line, somebody would have been best, but I don't think anybody would have been Neil Peart. Same with Bonzo, John Bonham. Yeah, right. We talked about this, didn't we, right? I am unique just like everyone else. No, in fact, you are unique just like everyone else, but you are not unique in the same way as everybody else. That's punchline. Okay. That's what I want to say about that. So, Devin, we're on second video, right?
Yeah, I've got it.
On 138?
130. Yep.
Okay, all right, thanks. Let's roll that one.
We didn't even obey a 24-hour clock. We'd come in and program for a couple days straight. We'd, 4 or 5 of us, when it was time to eat, we'd all get in our cars and kind of race over to the restaurant and sit and talk about what we were doing. Sometimes I get excited talking about things I'd forget to eat, but then we just go back and
I just forget to eat.
It was us and our friends. Those were fun days.
Yeah, there we go. I think it's pause. Yeah, we just forget to eat. That is Bill Gates. What can you say about Bill Gates? What do you want to say about Bill Gates? Are there any clinical, amateur clinical assessments? You know, I mean, it's no question to me, at least, that I'm not sure how Bill Gates is, as the.
I'd like to hop in just real quick.
Yeah, please. Save me from. I don't know where I'm going with that.
In response to him being a workaholic or whatever, I don't know if it's so much that as much as it is He actually reminds me a lot of my friends at school, basically. Um, People that have an idea. Like I have one of my friends about to graduate. He's been not really a workaholic. He just had a project he thought was cool, and he's spent like tons of hours making it. And that's like when you start to get good at computer science and you realize you have the power to just make something at home, and you're kind of doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And like even some projects that you think are cool, I've even had it where like you just keep going and you don't stop and you don't
Yeah.
get up to eat. It's just because like not because you're ignoring it, but just because you're kind of like making something cool.
Yeah, right. It's intoxicating, right? It's your project.
yeah.
You're in that zone now, and this is also really key, Devin. You know, a lot of you guys, students, there's different. There's kind of a spectrum of, you know, kind of a continuum of what's interesting to you, right? Some of you are going to be more people oriented. Bill Gates was not. Okay, he was not. Wozniak was not, right? These were the engineer, nerds, nerd. Yeah, I'm confident Gates was doing it because it was just, that's where his brain was. It was intoxicating. Later on, he talks about in Cringely, he talks about how he writes this basic, right? Spoiler, Gates writes a basic for the Altair, right? And he says that I still know it was like a labor of love or something. He goes, I still know the code by heart. And I remember the first time I watched that, I was like, oh, bull crap. Nobody knows any of the code that they wrote. You know what I mean? At that point, it would have been like 30 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it was. That was about 20 years ago at that point. Nobody knows the code they write, right? Exactly. Thank you. You forget your code from yesterday. I think Gates was probably just autistic enough. You know what I mean? I mean that sincerely. Where that was the zone and that was the world. That I think, in retrospect, I think he actually probably does. Probably even now. Probably could like sit down and write it out. I just bet. I'm being really sincere about that. You know, but not a social guy. Not, you know what I mean? Not a guy given to much by the way of social graces. Can you do, Devin, the 236? Yeah, there you go. This is like 10 seconds.
Room on the floor with sheets of paper spread all around with my computer design I was working on, and always I noticed that I was up pretty late at night and I had lots of Cokes, just part of that life.
Part of that life. Yeah. So, and that's Cringely rating. This is actually Cringely rating the fridge with the free pop at Microsoft is where he's at when he does that. But yeah, this whole idea of I'm just curious. In your generation, it feels to me, okay, when I was coming out of that, you know, I was in the 80s when I finished my undergrad, right? I was 88. And I was kind of like that. I remember one time, this was back before cell phones and texting. We had landline phones. You had to just call somebody and it would ring. You know, there was no like silencing the phone. You had to take the phone off the hook. That's the only option you had. Anyway, and I was working on a project with a buddy, and I actually wound up working with this guy just 5 years ago was, I think, the last time we actually worked together. But I mean, you build these long relationships, which is another kind of punchline that I want to make sure we talk about at some point. But anyway, it was like 3 a.m. and I was cranking on this code. And we had this project, it was due like the next day at 5 or something. And I was cranking, I was just kind of up doing an all-nighter and just cranking and pounding it. And I called my buddy Lon. We were on the project together, right? And I called him and I'm like, I hear he's like, whatever, the phone rings and he's like, hello? I'm like, Lon, why aren't you up? Are you asleep? Why aren't you up? He goes, do you know what time it is? I'm like, no, I don't. It was like 4 a.m., 3 or 4. I don't even know. It's like, I needed something that he knew, you know what I mean? That was part of whatever. I was just shocked that the man had the capacity to go to freaking bed when we had a project due, so that was always kind of my ethic. I don't think it's as much about being. I think that I don't even know what a true workaholic is, but I think that there are people that are so passionate about what they do that it becomes consuming and they don't want to go to bed. They don't want to eat. Like this, to me, again, when Gates is like, we'd go over there and then sometimes I'd just forget to eat. How do you forget to eat? I don't forget to eat. I've never forgotten. When I was a kid, I used to forget to eat. You know what I mean? But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. I was just curious though, what's happening in your generation? I just feel like your generation has a lot more on in general, on average, maybe a little more sense of balance to these aspects of life. Is that true, or am I just projecting on you? You know what I mean? Giving you more credit than you're due, or something.
Balance.
Balance. Yes. You have more. So yeah, to Tyler's point, you do have more distractions. There's no question. Boom, boom. You know, you have way more distractions than I did in my generation. That's for dang sure. But yeah. What balance? So, yeah, Mason said there's less feeling of feeling obligated to a company.
I think part of it, it might just be like, I don't know if it's just people I associate with because I'm in computer science. We're also in a field that we have the ability to ask for more. Being in a more
asking for more money or for more
for more time off, for more money, more benefits,
for
more,
demand, whatever, for more concessions or whatever.
Yeah. You have, so I think that's part of like maybe we have more balance just because we're in the right spot at the right time. Kind of like not to the extent they were where they created a multi-billion-dollar company by accident.
Yeah,
but
no, that's right. And you know what's interesting? So I had an opportunity to go to Microsoft in 1989. Had I done that, I promise you I would not be here today with you. I would be I would be on a transatlantic cruise, no doubt, or whatever, relaxing on my own island or something. Again, this is the part where you're like, I mean, instead I went to Novell, which was like a faster growing company than Microsoft during that stretch. But back in the 80s, there was a reputation about Microsoft, and it was about a kind of an extreme workaholic ethic. Extreme workaholic ethic, which, you think about Gates, right? So again, how do you balance that?
Sounds like SpaceX and Tesla right now.
Oh, I'm sure. And in fact, there was an article that I found. Ooh, it's in a file somewhere, like a hard copy, because that's probably the only place it exists. But it was kind of a retrospective on the initial Windows release and the personal life carnage. Like how many, when they do movies, sometimes they'll say like babies that were, the crew and staff, whatever, babies that were born during production. There's what company does that? Pixar or something? You know what I mean? Like what do they call it? Something babies. And it's like all the babies that were born. It's super cute. And you're like, oh, it's like sharing a little of the life of the people, whatever. But this article was all about like all the divorces that had happened on the heels of the Windows release. And I remember back then knowing people. In fact, I had an offer. I literally had the conversation once I was at Novell with a friend who worked at Microsoft. Because when I was at HP, we were working on an OS2 release for HP, right? So I had the better part of a month that I actually spent during the time I was at HP up in Seattle, living every day. And this was 1988. So spending every day on site at Microsoft in 1988. And then just one of the guys that I was working with there after I went to Novell, and I was back out on business, and he grabs me out for lunch and he's just like, hey, what would it take to get you over here? And the truth was, part of it is I just started a really great job at Novell, and Novell was looking to be a very hot ticket. But more importantly, I'd heard stories from friends that had gone there. And again, this is the 80s. I'm not saying this is what Microsoft's like now. I don't even know exactly what they're like. I think they've become a lot more of a mainstream company with a recognition that lifestyle's actually important. But I heard that back then people would get emails from Bill Gates like on a Sunday, just whatever, Sunday afternoon. And then if you didn't respond to the email, he was pissed, that there was some hell to pay. Like Bill Gates emailed you on Sunday and didn't get a response. You know what I mean? Right. And so Devin just said, okay, we're so backing up. So what Eric just said, yes, the employment relationship is a bidirectional thing, right? You have something they want. Kermit sang a song about this. Kermit the Frog. You got something they want and they got something you want, and you bring that together, and that's how it works. It's not one, it's not imbalanced one way or the other. But there are a lot of folks that are like, I don't like that startup thing, right? And later on in Cringely, he makes the statement, I skipped over it, but where he's, talking to, because I don't really care about that particular startup company that he was talking to. But basically he says in Silicon Valley or in startup land, you can work any 80 hours a week you want. Now that's actually approximately true of true startup mode, because you have to kind of do it all and you got all this inertia working against you. It's brutal. If you dig it, if that's what you really, really like, then it's exhilarating, it's intoxicating. And some people just really love, spending their career in that zone. They love that. And the 9 to 5 would just kill them. Hate like working for the mothership, drawing your paycheck. Not these are more adrenaline junkies, right? And I'm not. And again, I'm not saying right or wrong. Some people are built to kind of be adrenaline junkies. They love the codes for 48 hours straight and then crash for 16. Some people really like the security. And I've known great engineers that were in both categories. The guy that wouldn't work more than like 45 hours, but would save your bacon in the 45 hours, and others that liked being around a lot and they worked 70 hours, but you didn't quite know what they were doing for you. You know what I mean? There's no magic thing. But you have to figure out yourself what you like. And one of the best ways is to experience and sample. Some of you are going to like really, really monstrously big companies. And some of you are going to really dig all the way across that continuum, down to the tiny startup. And I've been basically I've been in all of those, right? I was in startup companies in the 80s before I went to HP. I was at Novell, which grew to be a mid-sized company. I was in a startup company that was a year old in Corvallis, where we did the infrared stuff. And oh, hey Tim, you're here. And then did pure startups where I was the guy going down to file the paperwork to launch the company. So I've been across that spectrum, and I come to realize that me personally, I dig the smaller thing. I'd rather be in a company with fewer than a dozen people and kicking some major butt and doing a great thing. I need that adrenaline rush. Working for the mothership, somebody just punched me in the face. It's when I was at HP, I lasted about a year. I hated it. Because it just felt like whatever I did that day didn't matter. I could just kill it or I could not kill it. It didn't matter. I liked it. I liked when I went to Novell, I was exhilarated because there was PC Week, which Cringely was the gossip columnist for PC Week. And I used to get PC Week. And I knew that if I screwed up at Novell, I would read about it in PC Week. And for me, I loved that. I loved that adrenaline rush that came along with that. But so, punchline, you've got to figure out for yourself how you feel about that. You know what I mean? What you really want to do with all that. So, yeah, right. So, Eric, the dream job, what does it mean? I don't know. I do know that in this industry right now, and especially on the Wasatch Front, That's a lot of opportunity to bop around and figure. So bottom line is companies have life cycles. They're at startup mode, then they get a little bigger, they become mid-sized, then they become like massive and huge, right? You've got to figure out where you like to be in that life cycle. And what you'll do eventually is you'll jump into a company at the life cycle that you really like. Like I do, maybe you do startups, you run them for 5 years, and then you sell them. Then you launch into another startup. And you're basically, it's like surfing or whatever. You know what I mean? You go out to that some spot, you surf it in. Go out to the same spot, surf it in. It's really rare, in fact, to start in tiny, tiny land and then just kind of stick with it for the duration. In fact, what's remarkable about Bill Gates and remarkable about Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg, going to the modern generation, and Bezos, who else would be in this category? That these are people who started the thing from scratch and wrote it to billions and billions in value. You just understand how rare that is? To have the skill set to bootstrap it, and also the skill set to be a CEO at that level of magnitude of a company. It is non-trivial. The skills required to do that are non-trivial. Okay? Yeah. So that's the bottom line. You got to figure out where you like to be, and it's very rare to grow, And there are people that are like not really what we would think of as like corporate personalities. Like, I'm not really a company personality. Understand what you are. And I know people who only do consulting because they just can't be on a payroll for somebody. People that have to work on their own. People that have to have their own thing. People that have to be on the mothership with the security. It's so unique. Like everybody, it's unique. But you got to figure out what that is for you. Okay, let's keep going. What are we at? Let's go. Yeah, so Devin, can we go to, you're right there, 346.
Time for the Cringely Crash Course in Basic Computers, Part 1. This is a mainframe computer. All of these cabinets are one machine. In the old days, all computers were this size. They were tended by engineers in white coats, a kind of priesthood who took their jobs very seriously. Now, all computers work pretty much the same, whether it's a giant that serves 2,000 users like this one, or a little notebook that serves only me. They process numerical data, adding, multiplying, comparing. Fact is, if you can quantify it, a computer can handle it. It's the emotional stuff they don't know what to do with.
All right, pause. Go and pause. Thanks. I just want to, and then cue it up to 5 minutes. So yeah, I just want to say this is important context for the rest. Hang on a second. I was drying out, and now I have to talk. This is the world. You have to understand, and it's so hard to understand because of where you are right now. But this whole thing starts when he gets to the Altair in 1975. I'm 15 years old at this point, okay? And I'm living in Jessup, Iowa. And at Jessup High School, and this is remarkable to even conceptualize, but at Jessup High School, we had a computer club. When did we start it? It had to have been 73. We started a computer club in 1973 in Jessup High School. Jessup was 1 square mile, dirt road, Main Street, middle of nowhere, Iowa, Cornfield County. 400 kids in the high school, and we had a computer club. And me and my nerd friends were all basically founding members. We had done, I was the youngest one, so I was kind of just tagging along. But they made a presentation to the school board that we should get a deck writer. If somebody wants to throw up a picture of a deck writer, that would be fantastic. But we wanted to get a deck writer, which is basically a printer with a keyboard and a box of paper. And instead of a screen refresh, it would go ja-ja, ja-ja, ja-ja. And then a modem, like a suction cup modem that you put an old-fashioned phone. This is my imitation of an old-fashioned phone. And go suction cup in. It was probably like 100 baud modem or something on a dedicated Watts line to the University of Northern Iowa. Go Panthers. Into their, and I think it was an HP 1000. And they had this timeshare system that students around the state could like dial in on this modem and then use the computer. And our monitor, our terminal, was the deck writer. And then we, in the high school, they gave us, they actually dedicated to us a closet. It was literally a closet. Yes, so me and all my buddies in high school in the 70s, in the nerd closet, right? And there were about a half a dozen of us that were really kind of like the anchors of that computer club. And we'd pop in there whenever we didn't want to be somewhere else. We'd pop in the closet and crank stuff and write code. And what's really fascinating is that many years later, when I was 24 at University of Iowa, 4 of us that were in that computer club were actually roommates together, which is crazy. And at the end, I think that of the 6 of us that were in that, 5 of us wound up with computer science degrees, and the other one was electrical engineering. Like we were just, and that was the 70s. We were kind of smitten. Isn't that amazing? But I remember Jobs talks about writing a program and then it does what you said. It was so stunning to me, what that experience of having. Can we get a deck writer? DEC writer. If somebody drop a picture of a deck writer, please. But there was something really magic and intoxicating about that experience that I went through, when I was 13, 14, and it's so odd, right? Again, back to like, that didn't have to happen. And, and then later on, when I finally figured out my life and decided college was my thing, and I was 23, and I decided, and I was trying to figure out what to do for major. And I was looking at a lot of things like literature and English lit and linguistics and a bunch of stuff like that. And then I was like, and then one of the items on my, there we go, that's my baby right there. That was it. That's the deck writer. I looked at my list and I was like, well, I can make a living at one of these things and I can always read Shakespeare in my spare time. That was literally my decision making. Yeah, it was kind of a teletype with a dot matrix. It had a dot matrix print head. You can't really see it, but it was a dot matrix print head. So it was like, and it would, every time. Not bad sound effects, right? Yeah, no, that's just amazing that was like actually a thing. So, okay, so listen. But I just want you to understand that when you think about the dawn of the PC revolution, which is what Cringely's talking about, the PC revolution, you guys are living. What are you? What are you? Who are you people? What are you? You're living in a smartphone reality. When was the original iPhone? 08? When was it? 07? Thank you, Tyler. Right? You're 13 years into a smartphone revolution where you're like, yeah, what of it? This is just life. I don't even know what revolution you're part of. Fortnite? I don't know. What are you? But what's coming up? Just understand that every environment that feels modern and contemporary in the moment, I had that phone. I had that exact phone. That every environment that feels modern and contemporary and current and fresh and new is going to experience revolution, go away, and you're going to go, whoa, that's weird. And we're out of time. I got to stop. But where you really, really see it, where it sort of ages very poorly, is when you see movies, you know what I mean? And you're looking at like what the technology was in the movie, And it's one thing if it's like an old black and white, and the phone rings and they pick it up and it's so quaint, Yeah, thanks. That's how we roll, right? I say it to myself to drop an interrupt that's going to fire here. Your generation is going to look back to your current world, and you're going to be, oh my gosh, do you remember where we had to like do this with our, whatever? You guys are going to go through it, and you'll be embarrassed about how archaic the world seemed back in 2020. That's all I got. So yeah, okay, I've been shamed into compliance. I have, in fact, been shamed into compliance, and I've even agreed with you by highlighting your comment. Let's stop, and let's keep going on Tuesday. Let's talk more Cringely. I hope this is cool, valuable. Oops, I don't want that over there. Hang on a second. Let me just a second. No, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, I'm just having we just had like sensitivity training about not disclosing information publicly. So as long as the names don't show up and these are just avatars, I think we're good. But anyway, I'm going to stop here and we'll cut it loose, and then I'll figure out how to do this without having this. Actually, can I just get it? I got to go back in and scrub that. There we go. We'll figure this thing out. Anyway, alrighty, hang in there. Take care. I'm going to keep grading like a mad dog. Keep writing. Keep getting better. That's all I got.
Have a good one, Dr. K.
Alrighty, take care. I can continue my lozenge.